You know what, guys? It's Mattview Reviews. Hello everyone, Mattview Reviews here, and today we'll be having a look at Cars 3, which is directed by Brian Fee and is brought to us by Pixar, which I'm pretty sure is the most famous animation company in the world right now, and most would argue greatest. That same company is bringing us Cars 3. So, it appears as though the list of counter-arguments to that claim is ever-growing. No, but in all seriousness, Pixar has produced multiple classic films over the years, including one of my favorite films of all time, Ratatouille. In terms of the Cars series, I was never a big car guy or racing fan, so I never really got into the Cars series. I was just never got interested. So it is very difficult to do a review on a premise you have no interest in. As I think talking racing cars should be a better fit for a Nick Jr. TV show rather than a huge animated trilogy, for God's sakes. But regardless, it's a film, so what I'll try to do is separate the core story elements from the premise that I find uninteresting as best I can. I can't do so completely, but for what parts of the film I can, I will. But in terms of the previous films, the first film I never cared too much for. It was just what it was. It was just what it was. You know, it was nothing special. It's just a run-of-the-mill bland film. I unfortunately did see Cars 2, which was a wreck. Get it? Yeah. Okay. So I went into this film with very low expectations, but could the film overcome them? Well, let's start by looking at the first category of animation success, starting with the characters. So, in terms of characters, I did like some of the new characters for the most part, such as Cruz, the new race girl. She starts off as Lightning McQueen's trainer, and she evolves into a friend, and I'm not gonna say more as in relationship status, but like she evolves into more of a dynamic character, I should say. She doesn't really get into a relationship with Lightning. Obviously, he has Sally, the Porsche from it's Radiator Springs. There, I couldn't even think of it. Sorry. But I thought Cruz, she was really energetic, and for the most part, but you know, overall, I really did enjoy her. She always seemed like she genuinely wanted to do what she could to achieve what was in front of her. And I also did like Smokey. He was kind of like the old school, classic old school coach that focuses on the basics and getting down to achieving things the old-fashioned way, much like a more level-headed version of Mickey from the Rocky films. Besides those two, I've never really liked any of the main cast throughout these series. Lightning McQueen, he's always been unlikable to me. I never cared for him. He's always been cocky and arrogant, and even when he's supposed to learn his lesson after the first film, he has pretty much just toned down his dickish attitude a bit. That's it. What honestly is supposed to make me want to see him as the protagonist achieve his goal rather than the fact that he's the main character. Other than that, he is completely uninteresting. Literally his character is interchangeable with any other race car or racer you want. Is it because he's red? Why should I care? Give me a real reason besides, you know, they decided to focus on him. They just picked him. They picked Lightning McQueen. He's no different from any of the other racers. Why did they decide on him rather than like the blue Dynaco car in the first one? I forget his name because, again, I don't care about the series. But I would have rather, his story actually is kind of compelling as like the old guy going out on his last run. That's more interesting than, hey, this guy's a dick and, you know, he's going to be less of a dick later. Who gives a shit? He doesn't really change. He doesn't really evolve. He changes a little bit. He becomes less of an asshole. That's it. But moving on. Sorry. I go on a little rant about Lightning. I really don't care for Lightning McQueen. Moving on, though, you have Mater, who thankfully is in this film sparingly. And he's tolerable. Okay? He's fine. Look, he's an acquired taste. If you like Larry the Cable Guy, you like Mater. I never cared for either, so to see him in the film very little is a welcome sight to me. Also, the villain in this film, Storm Jackson. What a villain. I mean, the guy does such dastardly deeds such as win races because, you know, he's better designed / trained. And, you know, he acts kind of like a dick after winning. You know, like McQueen. Only McQueen doesn't like it when it happens to him, so Storm's the villain. Just because the guy is a slightly bigger jerk and races better than McQueen, the audience is supposed to hate him. Yeah, okay, sure, that makes sense. Okay, moving on from the characters, we have the voice acting, which everyone's fine. They're fine. They do fine. Cristela Alonso does fine as Cruz. Nathan Fillion does fine as Sterling. Armie Hammer is fine as Jackson Storm. Every actor basically did the bare minimum to say they did a decent enough job to earn their paycheck. No one was really exceptional. No line was delivered with immense passion and emotion. They checked their boxes and it was fine. It was fine. They did what they had to do. I can't hate it. I can't love it. The only negatives I can say is in terms of the original cast when it comes to Owen Wilson and Larry the Cable Guy. Again, their performance was fine. Look, they both do what is asked of them. That's not the problem. They act fine. It's what they're supposed to do. That's it. But what I find more puzzling is the original casting decision. I never bought Owen Wilson as a cocky, arrogant racer. That's just me. He never really worked in that role. That's just my opinion. I never bought him as the cocky, arrogant racer that has to learn his ways. His voice just doesn't carry it, and his attitude doesn't carry it. He does fine, but I mean, there are a bunch of other actors who could have pulled that role off much better, in my opinion. It's just my opinion, but I really didn't think Owen Wilson fit the role that Lightning McQueen is as a character. I never bought it. That's just me. Larry the Cable Guy, I mean, he does what he has to do. Basically playing himself. My God, though, is he just annoying. I never found his stand-up funny. He just comes off as loud and obnoxious. So does his character. So, you know, if you like him, more power to you. But he's not my cup of tea. So, I mean, I can't really care for him in the film. I don't get why he's a character. I don't get why he's voicing. I mean, I don't find him funny. I find him annoying. But, I mean, in terms of his performance, he played himself very well. That's pretty much it. Okay, but next, let's talk about the story. So, as a quick summary, basically Lightning McQueen is seeing his old racing buddies start to retire as they are having a hard time keeping up with the next generation of racing cars. I was about to say stars, but they're cars because they're all cars. I'll get to that. But cars, they are built and trained better, so they are retiring the old racers because their sponsors are just, you're not winning races, we need younger talent. Okay? So after sustaining a major injury during a race, McQueen has to train back to beat the best racer in the world, Lightning Storm, or his sponsor will pull him from the race in favor of some new blood. So he goes on a soul search with his new motivational coach, Cruz, in order to become a better racer slash person. I don't know what to call them. It's hard. It's really hard to say racer slash car. I don't know. It's hard. But anyway, in terms of what they did right, pretty much nothing. Until the last third-ish, the climax ending kind of deal. It's hard to really say third because it's not exactly the third, but it's about the third way of the film. So I will be getting into spoilers because, again, it is pretty much the only thing I liked about the story, but it's really good about the story, so spoilers ahead. But we're going to start talking about the ending just because, again, it's one of the better, it's probably the best part of the film, and it's why the film pretty much works to the best it can. Anyway, so skip ahead if you want to, but the ending of the film, it sees Lightning McQueen trying everything he can to become a better racer while training with Cruz, who Cruz herself actually wanted to be a racer herself before getting too scared, and she decided, you know, I should just coach instead. I don't have what's inside. And she realizes, Lightning realizes, I mean, he is just not built to compete with the newbies anymore. He can't do it. So during the big race in the climax, he switches places, has Cruz put on his number, and she's going to race for him, and he has to coach her. But again, he becomes the coach and motivation behind her, much like Doc Hudson was for him in the previous films. This felt like an appropriate ending to Lightning's story. It saw him evolve as a character and accept that his time had come to adapt and stay close to the sport he loves by training the next generation in Cruz. But that's about where the positives end for me. Again, that is a great ending. Great climax to a mediocre trilogy at best. But basically, it's a nice ending. It's a nice climax. It's perfect. They've done what they could perfectly. But there's negatives in the film in terms of story. So the other parts of the film are very poor. They very much are. The jokes are embarrassingly unfunny. I did not hear a peep from the kids in the theater for a very long time. You would have thought I was in a room full of children during nap time at preschool rather than during a new Cars movie. Speaking of no jokes, I sat there embarrassed as they attempted to poke fun at basically sports psychology and virtual reality. They were the simplest jokes that any 5-year-old could think of. Oh look, They're wearing headsets. They can't see. They bump into each other. Ha 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 ha. Oh, look, this guy has to think he's a fluffy cloud to feel comfortable to race. Ha 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 ha. Like, as a psychology major, those jokes are just so basic and misinformed, it's embarrassing. That's not to say that there aren't jokes to be made and they can't be funny, but these are so simple. They just, you know what? I guess I shouldn't really expect much. You know, when I really think about it, I shouldn't expect much from these in terms of jokes from this film. Because this film is basically just made to sell toys and attract young kids. Thing is, though, that is no excuse. There is quality programming that was originally designed as a marketing tool. So if anyone can pull it off, it should be the almighty Pixar that can turn a marketing tool into a very good product in terms of a film, TV show, what have you. Okay? No excuse from the almighty Pixar for this not to be good. Also, just to end the story part here, it's just a minor thing, but I wrote it down. The new owner of McQueen's sponsor, Rusty's, Sterling is his name. He was unnecessarily made to be a dick. He was completely fine giving McQueen a chance. He was showing him around. He had all these stuff built for him. He's like, look, we want you to race. We really do. Then all of a sudden, he just goes, nah, we're pulling you. Out of nowhere. The writers just decide, yeah, we'll make him a dick. We'll make him a dick. Why? I don't know. Literally, the writers just decided, we kind of need a guy to put Lightning on notice. And, you know, he has to be a bad guy then. He can't be a good guy and go against Lightning. That's dumb. It's dumb. He put him on notice. He said, look, you need to either pick up your game or we need to find someone else that can win these races. Okay? He doesn't have to be a dick. No. Why does he have to be a dick instead of, you know, a sensible businessman? If you can't get the job done, you're gone. That's a fact. That's how any business runs. That is dumb. He's given him a chance. He's not progressing. And then he eventually caves and says, okay, you can do the race, but if you don't win, you're done. He's being fair about it. You don't have to make him an asshole. He's just being a perfect business, like a regular businessman. That's it. He didn't have to give him shit as a new owner of a new company. He didn't have to, but he was a big fan and he wanted to give him a chance, and he did. You didn't have to make him an asshole. And eventually, so again, I guess we're still in spoilers. I don't know, but again, at the end of the film, he gets bought out. He gets bought out because why? Oh, he didn't want, you know, someone who couldn't win a race and get his brand out there to win. Stupid. Sorry, I knew I was going to go off on a tangent. This is going to be really long, so I'm going to try and hurry this up. But next, we had the animation. It's going to be brief, I promise you. It looks fine. Backgrounds, lighting, action, racing, it looks fine. Okay? That being said, I've always hated the character designs. They're bland and unoriginal. You could pretty much see the same design on any child's programming with talking vehicles. It is legitimately uninspired, and to be honest, what else could you do with such a boring concept as cars for people? Cars as people. So, you know, I shouldn't have expected much, but you would expect Pixar to do something, anything with some creativity here with this stupid concept. But they didn't. So, I mean, too late to the game to change it now. So I can't really rag on them for the stupid character designs. It's too late. It's the third film in the series. They're not going to change it. This is more of a rag on the first film, as they're not changing it now. So it's a mute point to be a takeaway for this current film. So I can't make it a takeaway, but it's just a point. Because I really don't know if I'm going to go back and review the original Cars. I'm not. Next, music. Again, going to be even more brief. Country twang songs fit. They fit the whole NASCAR, Southern racing feel. It fits the setting, doesn't stand out. It's fine. It's fine. It does, again, it does what it has to do. It just fits the mood. Anyway, overall, Cars 3 is a continuation in a franchise that I could not care less about. That being said, Pixar took what they had already created and did the best they could with what they had. At the end of the day, the core of Cars 3 has a great sports storyline, with the old legend learning to have to adapt and change with the times. It's just unfortunate it's set in the bland and uninteresting world of Cars. So, I'm going to give Cars 3 a 3 out of 5. If you like Cars, this will probably end up being your favorite in the series, as I see it as the best film myself. If you never cared about Cars or not sure about it, skip it. Easily skip it. Don't care. Don't watch it. You're not going to like it. Whew, this was a long one. Well, that's all for me this time on Mattview Reviews. Check back next time for my review of My Neighbor Totoro, which should be interesting as it is my first viewing of a classic Studio Ghibli film. So, until then, don't forget to check out all the great content on the Discord Center. Check out for my 31 Voices and 31 Days series on my personal channel. Link will be in the description. And if it's not your birthday today, have a very merry birthday. And I will see you guys next time.